Have you ever felt something inside you break at the very moment you were supposed to feel the most pleasure? I'm not talking about the heart. I'm talking about something deeper, darker. That exact second when desire mixes with fear and you realize you control nothing. You shiver not only because of the skin you touch, but because of what that skin awakens within you. Tell me what really happens when a man is left without his masks. When he stops acting and faces his own reflection in the middle of the most intimate act that exists. You don't admit it, but you know it. You've felt that inner voice whispering between moans and breaths. Who are you now? That question doesn't come from outside. It's born from your shadow, the part of you that stays silent, hidden behind the character you show the world. That mask, you call me. And when the body surrenders, the shadow awakens. You are no longer the confident lover or the conqueror. You are a lost child, an exposed man, a being divided between desire and the fear of disappearing inside the other. I promise you this. If you stay until the end of this video, you'll understand why true intimacy isn't about bodies, but about identities. Why sex in its deepest form is not a physical act. It's a confrontation between your oldest fears and your desperate need to be seen. You'll understand why that trembling you deny, that vertigo right before surrendering isn't weakness, but the call of your soul wanting to be recognized. And when you understand that, you'll stop fearing vulnerability. Because you'll discover there's nothing more powerful than being seen completely naked, even in what no one else can see. There's a moment right after climax, when silence becomes unbearable. There are no heavy breaths, no sweet words, not even clear thoughts, just a strange feeling as if something had broken or awakened. That emptiness isn't physical, it's psychological. It's the shadow reclaiming its space, demanding to be heard. In that instant, the man stops being a lover and becomes a child again. Only this time there's no refuge to run to. What he feels isn't pleasure or guilt, it's confrontation. His soul has just seen itself reflected in another's skin, and what it saw doesn't please him. Because intimacy, true intimacy, isn't about undressing the body, but about undressing the mind. And when that happens, echoes of everything he tried to bury appear again. Insecurity, fear of not being enough, the anxiety of losing control. Jung said that everything not made conscious manifests as fate, and that's where man begins to understand his torment. Each encounter is a reminder of what he hasn't resolved, an emotional mirror where his masks shatter without warning and leave him naked before his own truth. Many try to silence that echo with repetition. They seek more bodies, more nights, more intensity, as if excess could calm absence. But the shadow doesn't feed on pleasure. It feeds on truth. And the more you ignore it, the louder it gets. It begins as discomfort after the act, but over time it turns into existential emptiness, the loss of self. That feeling of not knowing who you are when no one desires you. Modern man confuses desire with identity, and that's why he feels lost when desire fades and silence returns. He doesn't understand that what he truly seeks isn't sex, but meaning. And here comes the cruelest paradox. The more he tries to fill that void with pleasure, the further he drifts. Because sex without consciousness may excite the body, but it leaves the soul starving. The man who doesn't know himself turns intimacy into a stage for performance, not connection. A theater where he performs his best version. But every applause is fake, every moan a lie that reinforces his loneliness. Only when he dares to look without masks does the act change. Then the act becomes an encounter. And that encounter isn't always with the other person. Sometimes it's with the abyss itself, a meeting with the truth he's long avoided. There are men who after a seemingly perfect night feel the urge to walk away, to flee without reason. They don't know it, but what frightens them isn't her. It's what she awakened, vulnerability. The fact that for an instant they stopped being characters and became something real. And reality hurts because it can't hide behind the ego or performance. That's the part almost no one confesses. That in bed we don't just seek bodies, we seek answers. Every touch is a silent prayer begging to belong, to be seen, to be accepted without conditions. But the acceptance that costs the most isn't the other's, it's one's own. That's why sex can be as disturbing as it is healing. Because when you live it consciously, it undresses your soul too. And that isn't always beautiful. Sometimes it's violent, chaotic, almost unbearable, but deeply necessary. True growth doesn't come when you conquer bodies, but when you understand which part of you is trying to conquer them. When you stop using pleasure as a disguise for pain, when you turn it into a bridge toward your own truth, then everything changes. The body stops being a tool of power and becomes a language, a way to speak the soul's truth. A language that doesn't need words to say, I see you and I see myself in you. There, in that shared vulnerability, the man discovers something books cannot teach. That authentic intimacy isn't about possession, but surrender. That love, in the end, isn't about domination or protection, but accepting the chaos both carry within. And when he understands that, he no longer fears the silence after pleasure. Because he knows that silence isn't emptiness. It's his shadow's voice reminding him he's alive. There's something no one dares to say out loud. Deep down, man fears love more than failure. Because love disarms him and strips away his control completely. It tears out his certainties and leaves him face to face with a vulnerability he doesn't know how to handle. That's why many confuse desire with love, easier to control. Because desire can be managed, turned on and off, even faked. But love can't be faked. It undresses you without asking permission and forces you to face yourself. It forces you to reveal your cracks, your half-healed wounds, your most primitive parts. And when it comes, it doesn't strike the body, it strikes the ego and its illusions. In the silence after the act, when everything seems calm, something invisible begins to move. It's the soul trying to reorganize itself after the chaos of union. Because every intimate encounter, though it may not seem so, is a kind of death. The death of the character you were, the role you played, the image you held on to. That small death, that emptiness afterward, is nothing more than the signal that something inside you has been shed. And the more aware you are, the more you feel it. What once was only pleasure now becomes revelation. The man who dares to look at what that silence shows him begins to notice a subtle change within his being. His way of touching, of breathing, of looking stops, being a desperate search for validation, and turns into presence, into something real and grounded. He no longer seeks to be admired, he seeks to understand. He no longer fears giving himself. He fears not giving himself completely, holding back truth. Then he understands that intimacy isn't an external conquest, but an internal reconciliation. The flesh is only the vehicle, but the destination is the soul. And something fascinating happens when the man allows himself to feel without fear. The body becomes a mirror of his evolution, a map of his consciousness.